And then I'll be sharing my screen as well. So in case you can't hear me, please let me know. Yeah. Okay. Can anybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So hi guys again. So today basically we'll be talking about software release and product launch. And if you ask a lot of people, a lot of product managers, what their favorite part of product is basically like seeing what you've built in the market, right? Seeing that your hard work, your engineering effort is in the market and saying, yes, I worked on that, I built that. That's like the most interesting part of being a product manager. So if you spend like 1 year, 3 years doing product development, this is the like sweet spot for everybody. So basically, I'm just going to be explaining and shedding more light on what release management is, your job as a product manager, and who is typically responsible for release management. So basically, in one of our previous classes, I know that I once spoke about the software development cycle, and we spoke about it having sometimes 6 stages, sometimes having 8 stages. And the first one is like your planning, you have your requirement gathering, you design. After you design, you build, you test, you deploy, and you maintain. Now, a lot of people tend to think that product launch starts as the deployment phase, but some people, for me, I think product launch starts at testing. And if you ask some other people, they tell you that it starts right at planning, because in planning is when you begin to say, okay, this product has to speak to this person, this user persona. What voice do we want to, or what story do we want our product to tell in the market? How do we want it to be perceived? Right. But for me, as I said earlier, product launch starts from the testing phase, and I'm going to explain further as we go on. Now, if you look at the slide again, it says that process of software release begins at the testing phase, because at testing, you already have some version of your product, right? You built it up to a phase, so that you are testing what you already have against the criteria and seeing how people would perceive it, what the experience is like. You're getting feedback, so it's more real. And with this, you now start to document, and you're getting feedback and improving the product from beginning, right? So the first thing we need to do is, what does product release mean for you as a product manager? Is product release only internal, or is it external? And does your product release mean that, okay, you are launching a new product? Does it mean that you're launching a feature? What does product release entirely mean? So for me, I said that product release, it's not only just bringing like a new product into the market. So the way Apple releases new versions of the iPhone every September, they release a new version of the Mac OS, they release like a new MacBook, right? So product release does not only have to be like you're releasing like an entirely new product. It could be like an incremental addition to what you have. So it could be that before you could send money to a phone number. Now you can send money to an account number. It could be that the app was previously purple, now the app is green. It could be that this app was only available in London, or is available in Nigeria, now it's available to more countries. Basically, product release is not restricted to just one thing, right? So as I said, it is delivering new product experiences to your customer. It could be a new feature, it could be a new experience, it could be a better feel. So all of this in itself actually incorporates what product release could mean, right? And then a product release is deploying a new feature to what you already have in production. So as product managers, there are some terms that we tend to use. So sometimes you hear that the product is in production, sometimes you hear that it's in staging. I'm just going to explain that shortly, because I might be using that a lot as I'm speaking, and just to avoid confusion. So when you say that a product is in staging, it means that the product is not yet released for your final consumers. This is where your developers, your designers, your stakeholders tend to interact with the product and see if, okay, it meets the criteria and it meets the concepts of what you have already, of what you intended, right? that is what a product in staging means. It means an unreleased product, right? For products in production, it means that the product has already been launched, is out there, and people can see it, right? So just put that back of your mind: staging and production. So a release is when you deploy like a new change. You put there's a new feature for people to access on production. So now this is again, as I've said, like it's very, very exciting. So if let me explain product release as this. So say you have a lot of people should be on Twitter here. If you're not on Twitter, you should be on Instagram, right? And then you probably go to the app store and you see updates, right? That update is a product release, right? That's a new version of the product, right? And then you click update, you see that something has already changed in the app. Sometimes you might not see it. It could be that it's just bug fixes and stuff like that. Again, as I mentioned, it's more than just releasing a new functionality. It could be better experiences. It could be that the app is faster. It could be that it has a new look and stuff like that. Say that a lot of people used to complain for Instagram at Instagram's timeline. Before, the Instagram timeline was chronological, meaning that you see how people post. So if you post on Monday, Tuesday, like that's how you view it. And all of a sudden, Instagram decided that for their business model, they were going to just switch it up and they will just show you random posts. And a lot of people were complaining. Now, to change that and to listen to their customers, they intended to bring back the chronological version, but in a different way. In that kind of, in that light, that's like a new product release. That's a new feature into the product. So that's the first part. So to put it in a more comprehensive light, a product launch is when it's a coordinated effort, it's a planned and a coordinated effort to release a new product to the market so that it can be available for purchase or it can be available for use. I say purchase here because some products are paid, and I say use here because some products are free. It depends on the company's business model. So again, I also said that the product release could be internal and it could be external. Internal is just like within your company. External means that, you know, it's for your users out there. So those are like the two things. And then I need to say that again, product releases and release management is not solely the job of a product manager. You're not working in isolation, right? You're working with your engineers, you're working with your designers, you're working with the sales team, you're working with the marketing team, and you're working with the support team. Because all these people, working with these people helps you determine the tone of what your product is like in the market. Are your users perceiving the product the way it's supposed to? Do they understand what it is? Are they seeing ads on Twitter? Are they seeing ads on Instagram? How are people perceiving it? Those are like the things that really matter, right? So now I've already said what product release is. Now, what is release management? Release management is a system that allows you control how your software goes from planning to testing then to release. So now, like it's a sequential phase, right? You don't just all of a sudden, boom, release a new product. Some companies plan product releases or release management over a year. Do you get? So that's why sometimes like you build products for a year and all of a sudden people just think that you just launched. But the truth is no product is just launched like that, at least for that's in my own context, right? It takes years, it takes research, it takes months of hard work, a lot of testing before you release your product. So sometimes you say that you want to launch a product in June, right? And then it goes to the testing phase, it gets to the testing phase and people test, and they realize that, oh, something has broken here. People are not experiencing it this way. People that are viewing the app on Android, it feels better than people using on iOS. And then the deadlines become strict. And all of a sudden, what you're supposed to launch in June has to launch January the next year. So you need to know that release management is planned, is scheduled, and you have to test it at different phases and in different environments, right? And to make sure that release management is successful, right, there needs to be a plan for people to stay on course, right? For them to know that, okay, we want to we want to meet this goal. We have this goal in mind. The goal here is that we're trying to release the product. We're trying to solve a problem for people, right? And everybody needs to be aligned. And for people to be aligned in that plan, you need to state what is going to be there, who is responsible for what, and what needs to be done at a particular time. And I'll give you an example, right? So I said that I want to launch a product in June. The first thing is, what is this product? What problem is this product solving, right? Then the second part is, okay, I'm doing my research. The third part is, okay, fine. After doing research, it needs to be designed. Then I design the product, right? That means the designer designs the product. That's like the designer knows that they're responsible for designing and it's due for this time. Then it goes to engineering. Engineering is also knowing that this is what it's supposed to look like. And at each time, you're constantly informing the support team and the product marketing team that this is what's going on, so that they can build the tone of the product at that time. So you don't build the tone of the product at the end, right? So you might see that some products are more friendly. Some people are, the way they communicate in the app is very, very formal. This is like the job of the product marketing team and also the support team, right? So I'll give you an example of Twitter. Twitter has, for me, I think Twitter has more of a casual voice. They're not very, they don't have like this corporate tone that you might have for Google, right? So all these tones, how the app and the product is perceived has to also like be, it has to be determined before the product is now released. Can anybody hear me? Do you have any questions at this time? If you have any questions, please just raise up your hand. So I'm just going to continue. So for me, I think that there are two phases of release management, right? There are different steps, there are different processes, but all of these processes, stages can be subdivided into two parts. That's the strategic part and the tactical part. And I break it down into two phases because the role of a product manager is mainly strategic. Your job is not just only to implement, it's how is your product positioned? What's the market saying? What can I do to make my product better? And then you are now also working with stakeholders and then reporting to upper level management just to determine that, right? So I would explain what each phase contains. And then if you have questions, please let me know. So the first one is the strategic phase. Now, the first thing here is that, again, as I've said, just to reiterate, is that release management is not the sole task of the product manager. It's a collaborative effort between product, engineering, support, sales, and marketing, right? And during the strategic phase, right, the first thing that you need to do is you need to determine who the right user persona for the product is and what value proposition are you giving to this user persona. And I will give you an example. So Instagram is a social media app, right? And at the top level, is for people to post pictures. That's like what a lot of people perceive Instagram to be. But if you look at it more, you will see that Instagram is not only a photo sharing app, right? It's an avenue for business owners to sell their products and to increase their revenue. It's different for influencers. It's an avenue for them to make more money, right? Either by posting pictures or by uploading videos, right? For businesses, that's physical businesses, is an avenue for them to increase their online presence and for them to get traction, right? Those are like the things you need to know. Now, for you to do release management, you need to be able to carve out the niche, to know the niche of each of these users and what message and what value are you delivering to each one of these people. Now, the value that you might deliver for a regular user, which is just to post picture, is going to be different from that person that is trying to increase their online presence, right? For influencers, it will be that, maybe like initially you could only post 10-second videos and then you can post 30-second videos. The way you will sell that to them is going to be different. So you need to know your user personas, right? And you need to be able to develop an effective value proposition for each one of these people. That's the first thing that you need to know. The second part is that for each, for this now, taking it a bit further, you need to be able to segment your users into existing customers and for new customers. And what are the messages that you want to sell to your existing users and your new users, because you need to know that you're not only solving for just one person, you are solving for multiple people. So for people that are just coming into your app, what are they seeing? For people that are already there, what additional value are you providing for them? So I'll give you an example. So for some people, initially, maybe if you download a fintech app, the first thing is, oh, you could just sign in with your email and phone number, right? Meaning that if I was to create, based on regulations, right, if I was to make an improvement to that app, it will be that, okay, initially you could sign in with you created an account with your email and password. Now, for you to take it further, you need to provide your NIN. You need to provide where you work, what's your address, all of that stuff. That's one part. The second part is that, okay, for new users now, based on this regulation, it means that you can't only sign up with your email address and password. Now you need to provide your NIN, you need to provide your address at the point of sign up. So you will say that these journeys are different. So you need to be able to develop compelling messages and how you want to deliver the product release for these two segments of people, right? So those are like things you need to know. That's why, again, I said that the role of a product manager is more strategic than tactical. Like you are not just implementing. You need to be able to think about your product from a bigger point of view. So the third one is that you need to be able to prioritize the new product functionality, right? And it needs to be able to deliver and what you want the development team to work on. So you need to know that you can't always build your product at once. It's incremental. It's that's why a lot of for product that you hear that they said that you iterate until awesome. Your product is never done. You need to keep making it better every day, right? So you have to prioritize, okay, what part of my product do I need to work on now? What part am I going to work on later? But you need to know that for everything that you're prioritizing, you need to be able to solve you need to solve a problem in the market, and it is what your users want, right? And then the last bit is that you need to be able to track. So what KPIs are you going to assess after the product is released? Now, every product release is not complete until you are tracking something, because you need to know if the product release was a success or a failure. That's why product release is not always the end of the road. Like there's still work for you to be done after product release. Do you guys understand? So I'm going to pause here for a bit just to ensure that everybody understands. So please, if you have any questions, if you can hear me, please let me know. If anybody that has any question, feedback before I continue. So if I call anybody to ask questions, would you guys be able to answer? I need somebody to say something so I know that people are here. Aziz, Bukumi, Yano.
I'm here.
Do you guys understand what I've been saying so far?
Yes, I don't have any questions personally.
Okay, I'm going to continue now. Please, in case you don't understand what I'm saying, please let me know. Yeah, I'm going to continue sharing now. Just let me continue sharing. Yes. Okay, so the second part is the tactical phase, right? The tactical phase is now, it's taking it further. You've already said, okay, this is what the strategy looks like. This is what you want this is what the user persona is. This is what you're delivering. This is what you're prioritizing. You've already said these are your KPIs, these are your metrics, this is what you're tracking and all of that. Now, in the tactical phase, you're now implementing. So this is like, okay, the engineering team is now developing what you've said. They're meeting the deadlines. Maybe after engineering is done building, the next thing is now for you to update the website to show the new product. You are improving, you are updating your documentation that you have, you're updating your walkthroughs. So before, let's say that you have like walkthroughs on what users should do. If you've created a new version, a better experience, of course you need to update that, right? So that people can always refer back to that. You need to coordinate with the sales team and the support team, because aside you as a product manager, the support team and the sales team, right, are people that ensure that the product is being sold and is used appropriately. And when users have issues, the first people that they would ask are typically support. They need to understand what the product launch entails. So you have to coordinate with them, share necessary documents, if possible, have a demo, have meetings, just to ensure that everybody is on board with this new feature that you're delivering into the market, right? So this is what the tactical phase includes. Now, there are different stages. So for release management, right? And for you to do this, right, it's broken down into 5 steps. The first one is to plan. The second one is to build. The third part is user acceptance testing, also known as UAT. The fourth part is to release, and the fifth part is deploy. The deploy part is when, okay, finally it's outside. So again, I'm going to keep saying this like all through the call, right? Your product is not, you don't just boom, push the product to the market. You need to plan it first. Like there's a process to everything. That's one thing that you really need to understand. So for the first part is planning, right? So planning is when, okay, this again, it's just like what I said initially. You need to define what the problem is. We need to research. You need to have an insight into what the solution is as well. And we, during release planning, we expect, okay, how many sprints are we going to have to do to deliver on what we've said? The second part is we need to be able to estimate how much effort it's going to take. Is anything going to change? And you need to know that sometimes you cannot just plan and that's the end. Planning is for the entire cycle. In an agile environment, it never stops, right? And these things can go on it can go on simultaneously. If you're in a waterfall environment, right, you need to maybe finish planning first before you can now go to the next stage. But in agile, like you have to continue, like it's never done until it's done. Do you understand? Then the next part is that you need, during this part, you need to create a workflow. How are we going to work? How are we going to communicate? How are we going to ensure alignment? So during this workflow, it's going to contain the timelines, delivery dates. Okay, this is the goal. So for me now, I want to launch this product in September. I need this product to be maybe ready by June so that we can have enough time to test. We also need to be able to draw the requirement and the overall scope of what the product and the project should look like. So there are multiple ways for you to do this, right? And you can do this with a checklist. Some people use Gantt charts. Either way that you want to do it, based on the organization that you are, it's better that it's written and it's documented so that people can always refer to it. That's the first thing. And remember, your job as a product manager is always to document and ensure people are accountable. Everybody involved in the product development and product planning is aligned on what we need to do. So the next part is the build phase. During the build phase, right, we've already said, okay, we've planned, now design can start, then we're now doing development, and then we're also testing simultaneously. So different companies handle releases in different ways, right? Some people just build a product and boom, you release. Some people release feature by feature. So it depends on the company that you're in. So maybe once you're done building a feature, the QA, that's the quality assurance, and the software tester is now testing to ensure that, okay, this is how the product is going to be used. This is how it's going to be experienced. And again, as I said, it goes through several iterations. Like you never finish testing, right? We just get to a point and say that this is done. And then after build, we now move to user acceptance, right? Which it could either be a beta test. It could be that you have a group of people that are testing for you either internally or externally. And then they will give you feedback based on what people would, kind of problems that people would experience in real life situation. So when you're testing, right, there might be issues where like there's a bug, people are not experiencing the product as you would like. Then it goes back to development. They fix the issue. It goes back to testing. Is it working properly? Okay, cool, it works. Okay, it works properly, but I think we should improve on this. It goes back again to development, like that. So you can see that like it's like a continuous thing. It's back and forth until it's okay, good to go. We're done on this part. I think that this is a good experience for the users. And in this case, again, you also have your documentation, right? You need to be documenting. The developers need to document what they're doing. Also, the software testers need to develop their test cases so that you know that, okay, this is what we intended and this is what happened during this time. Then the third bit of it is UAT. I earlier said UAT is also known as user acceptance testing, right? So user acceptance testing, but depending on the organization that you are in, could be that you are testing with a group of people externally. That's like if you have customers already, you have like a distinct set of these customers testing for you, or you have people in your company testing the product. Then, or it could also be that the product manager is checking that the product meets the acceptance criteria. So it depends on your organization and then the strategy that the business has adopted. So please put this in mind. So I'll give an example. So for Twitter, I think for Instagram as well, they do beta testing. So there are some users that will see some updates before everybody. Not everybody will see the same updates at the same time. So when people see, for these few people that get this test at first, they would, when they get this new feature, they will test, they will get feedback, and then it gets better. Sometimes it could be within a company. So say, for example, say Kuda or Piggyverse or something. I would assume that before they release a new product, before they release a new feature out, they will get their employees to test the feature first, then they will get feedback within a period of time. So they can say they were allocating 2 weeks to it. So people will test, give feedback, give test, give feedback, and then, okay, did you have any issues? Now, it feels like you are dealing with these people as your actual customers. It's not just the software testers doing their job. It's now like, okay, I've pushed this product to you people in a separate environment to experience what it's like, then give me feedback, right? User acceptance test is extremely crucial in release management because it gives you a feel of how people would experience your product in the market when you are not there. Do you understand? And it will give you feedback. Again, as I said, it's iterative. If people have issues and there's a bug again, they have to report that bug, then you have to fix it. Then you take it back again. Okay, we fixed this issue, help us test. Yeah, like that, until you've now finally said, okay, this is good to go, and then we can release it to the market. Then the fourth part is prepare. At this part, we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. In this case now, there's a final test by the quality assurance team, and then there's also the product manager documenting. So now you are documenting your release notes, right? So when you go to the App Store, for example, if you check on, maybe you go to the App Store, type Twitter, you see like what's new. That's like when you see what's new, they tell you all the things. They'll tell you squashed some bugs for you. We've improved the experience. Those are really release notes basically. So here as well, you have QA saying, okay, this works as expected. They finally also check with the test case that have been developed in the beginning and to ensure that it meets the business requirements and it meets the minimum requirements. And the product owner needs to approve and say, yes, this is good to go, and then we can release. Now, you need to know that in all of these steps and all of these stages, right, you need to have your stakeholders, you need to manage your stakeholders. The stakeholders need to be consistent and consistently aware that this is what you've done, and this is what the users are saying. So you need to update them at each stage and identify who is going to make or break what you're doing. So it's very, very, very important. As well, you also need to carry other things out as well. So in this case, for example, if you say that you're preparing as a product manager, your job might just be to ensure that you have the list of things you want to track, you have your release notes. But then for the marketing team and for the maybe social media team, they need to draft maybe social media materials that they will post on Twitter and they will post on Instagram. For content marketing, might be that they need to draft emails that will be sent to the users. So like different things for different people. So you need to be carrying everybody along. For support, it means that, okay, we're almost done. You guys should update your document. So when people go to the FAQ part of the website, this is what they are saying. If people call, this is what we've done. So at each stage, you need to consistently communicate with these people and ensure that everybody is aligned on what you're doing. But yes. The last part is to deploy, aka release to production. So now this is when you now say, oh, wow, I can breathe. We're done developing now. We're actually never done developing. So in this case now, you are deploying it to production. In this case, it could be for different companies have different ways in which they deploy to production. In this case, it's not it's like a DevOps effort. It's an engineering effort to push the product to the market, and they want to production rather. So once it's there, you're like, who I can break. So in this case, you now all the materials that have been drafted, the social media materials are now posted, right? So you now say, yay, we are now in Lagos. Oh, now we're in Nigeria. Just like for people that use Spotify, when Spotify now says, oh yes, we're now in Nigeria, you get stuff like that. So they send email to the users, release are shared on app stores, you're getting emails and stuff like that. One thing that is very important here and is very crucial is that you are notifying your users of what has happened. I think it's really bad user experience. It's not great when you just all of a sudden switch up your app and there's no communication to your users, because they're going to find it hard to navigate through that update, right? And they're like, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? Especially when you know that you've done a major app upgrade. So it's very, very important that you are notifying your users and telling them how they would experience these new features. Sometimes they don't read it, but it's better safe than sorry. So it's better for you to actually do it than for you not to do it. So if you don't do it, like, oh, you guys know inform me, and then if you do it, like, oh, it's just here, if you just check it there, like it's better. Then it could also be that you might need to do this for a period of time. You might need to keep reminding your user, reminding them. So say, for example, you change the name of your app. So say, for example, Kudi changed from Kudi to Number. A lot of people that have been using Kudi for like a very long period of time, even all of a sudden you just say, where's Kudi? So they need to keep reminding people that, oh, Kudi is now Number, Kudi is now Number, Kudi is now Number. So it could be like adverts, it could be radio jingles, just to ensure that, okay, you are notifying them and they are aware. So this could be done in different ways and the type of the product. Now, yes, so and this is also important for internal release and also external release. At this part, we now have a meeting at the end of the day to say, okay, what went well? How did the deployment go? Did we have any issues? Are there things that we still need to fix before the next push? So you might ask a question, right? Let me go back. You might ask a question. I'm trying to talk to you guys. How often do you think that products should be released to the market? I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I will like for people to answer. How often should people, should product managers or should companies release products, and how should they be managed? Do you think there's like a one size fits all, or you think it depends based on the organization? Yeah, I'm going to take, if you can just raise up your hand if you have an answer. Okay, hi, Dami, you can unmute your mic. Okay, well, sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, so as regards how often a product should be released, I think it depends on the organization first. And I think products should be released as soon as there's any new like update. For instance, let's use like all these apps like maybe Instagram, Facebook, and all that, and other social media apps. So as soon as there's any significant or like any new, updates that the users would really be interested in, the products should be released. So I use the word significant because let me use WhatsApp for instance. There was a time, I think the last update they did, the one before the last update they did was the one where they added some new emojis or something. But a lot of people were not really interested in updating the app because they wanted new emojis. But I think the most recent update was when so there's this feature that you see on Instagram where you can just like react to a message without responding.
Reactions.
Yeah, so they actually brought that to WhatsApp, and like a lot. I personally actually updated my WhatsApp because of that. So I feel that's something that a lot of people might be like, okay, I want to use as opposed to the initial update that was just for some new emojis and stuff like that.
Exactly.
As soon as there are significant updates or significant changes in the product that their users.
Right. That was a great attempt. Thanks, Dami. Aziz, you raised your hand second. I think you can speak now.
Yeah, I think it's just like the other speakers talk about. It depends on the company and the product. For example, the Coca-Cola brand, they normally probably come up with the new products not quite often, once in a while. Unlike the other product like Apple, Apple iPhone, iOS, and Samsung, they come up with the new products almost every year just to maintain the competition between the two most used brand in iOS and Android. So it depends on the product life cycle, if I would say. If the product is doing well on the market, there's no need to come up with a new version or to improve the existing one. But if the product is having a challenges or probably there's a competition for the product, then there's a need for a product manager and the entire team to come up with the additional features or to modify the product just to gain more customers and win more markets in the market. But for other products, it depends on the product, the competition with the product, and life cycle of the products. That's my take on it.
That was a good attempt. I want to comment on something real quick that you mentioned. So you had mentioned something about how not to improve. I think maybe that might not be your intention, but one thing I want to say is every product cannot remain stagnant. Like, it needs to be continuously improved. And I say this because even if you need to keep your customers excited, right? That's the first part. The second part is like you have competitors, right? So you need to be on top of your game. How is the best way that you can deliver the best experiences to your customer and just be the best at what you do? And I'm going to give an example based off the IUX example that you gave, right? Sorry, just a second. Sorry, can you guys hear me? Hello?
Hello, yes, I can.
Yes, sorry. So I was saying that I'm going to give an example based off the IUX example that Aziz gave, yeah? So in a situation by, if, for example, there's a new iPhone, but you need to know that when they release a new iPhone, right? There's still updates for that iPhone every time. There's a new iOS update. So iOS 15, before I was on iOS 11, I've gone from iOS 11 to iOS 12. Now I'm going to iOS 15. Even on that iOS 15, there's iOS 15.1, there's iOS 15.1.1, iOS 15.1.2, like that. So it means that your product should never actually be stagnant. It's either you're delivering the best experiences, because even if like you yourself, you're not improving your product. Say for example, the Apple iPhone, right? There are other products that there's like WhatsApp, there's a product, there's Instagram, there's a product on that phone. So there might be some updates that they've pushed that is probably not compatible on that software version. So you need to update that version for all your users. So these are things that you have to put in mind. So you don't just update your product because you think you have a best, you just have a good experience and you forget it. If you do that, you're going to end up, the product is going to end up dead, right? So you need to continually update it. That's just one thing I wanted to mention. Akimbode, you can speak now.
Okay, hello. Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you're audible enough.
All right. So I wanted to mention that release of you said how often should the product manager or should releases be done on a product? So in my view, I think it depends on how often there is need for it, because the essence of release, from my own knowledge, is that release is to make new or changed features or versions available for use. So release does not necessarily mean it is being deployed, from my understanding of IT or operations. And from that definition, it means that as often as there is a new product that your team has worked on or a new feature that they've made available for use, you can make the release available, do all the necessary testing, improve it and perfect it, make it ready for deployment. Now, deployment decisions would depend on maybe the product owners or the company as a whole, and also other factors like the competition and what other similar competing products are offering. And based on all of the facts available, you can now decide to maybe deploy that and make it something in the market to stay ahead of the competition, and to probably excite the users and give them new features to play about. So my answer is release should be as often as is necessary.
Okay. I think that was a good attempt. I'm going to take Yanu's question answer before I say something, then ask another question.
Okay, yeah. So I think there's no straightforward answer to the question. So I think release would depend on few factors. For example, the product itself, that is, what stage is the product in the product life cycle? Or is it serving businesses? Is it serving users? Is it a premium product? Those kind of things will determine how often we need to excite and engage our users. Then something else again that would matter is the competitors. What are they doing at the moment? How can we get their market, or how can we prevent them from stealing our market? Same thing with what Twitter did with the Clubhouse feature, or the Clubhouse as the product. Then I think the last thing that will determine how often we should release would be our customers. What do they want? Are they complaining regularly about the future, or do they yearn for something, and does it make business sense? I'm sorry I'm out of breath. I was walking down the stairs. I was walking my pet. Anyway, so that's my answer. It depends on those three factors, in my own opinion. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Yanu. I agree with almost everybody, if not everyone. I think so. Basically, I don't. The answer is it depends. Just like everything product management, the answer is it depends, right? You can't necessarily say that there's one size fits all for releases. But one thing I would say is that product releases should not be too often. And I will say this because if, for example, you release a new feature today, and this feature is a feature that is going to take a lot of time for people to get used to. I'll say that, yeah, it's a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of time for people to get used to. So the learning curve is high. And then the next month, you now release on that feature at the same time again. That is going to take a lot of people time to adjust. In that kind of situation, it can be very, very dicey because two things will happen, right? People are either just going to drop the product or they are going to learn. And you need to know this. It takes less than 1 minute for people to decide if they are going to use your product or not. If I try to do something on an app and I don't get it done in less than a minute, it means that there's a problem for me. That's for me as a user. I'm not saying in general, right? And people's attention span aren't that long. So that's why people always tell you that for it, like the product needs to be fast, needs to deliver on what it needs to deliver, right? So for me as a user, right, I would say that product release should not be too often, but it should be as often as needed for the business. Because if you're always releasing every some people can release every week depending on your product type, right? If you're fixing bugs, that means you're listening to push new updates to the App Store. That's cool. But like if you're going to be maybe like reinventing your app every time, you need to learn to space it out so that people can breathe and they can learn they can adjust to the learning curve of your product before you push another thing. So if, for example, I'm using UBA, for example, and I've been using the UBA app, and all of a sudden, UBA updates their app and they now drop it on the App Store. And I'm now struggling to get used to that one, right? then all of a sudden again, if they now drop another one, if that's the new one for me is not solving the problem for the first one, and then I have to learn it again, it's going to be a problem. I'm just going to stick to USSD. But then again, as I said, that's my perspective as a user. As a product manager, right, there's no one right way for you to to do product releases. But I'm going to say that one thing needs to happen. Your product releases need to be controlled. There needs to be a process and it needs to be automated, right? Just ensure that like you're documenting and people, your users understand what you're doing part time. That is my answer. Akimbody, are you raising up your hand or I'm not exactly sure. Okay, cool. You've dropped it. So I'm just going to continue. In case you have any questions or answers, please let me know. What's going on? Okay, so what is the role of a product manager after product release? What's next? The first thing I would say is you need to breathe because you guys have been working so hard. But then again, you need to know that your job is not done. In short, that's when the work starts. So first of all, you need to track changes because as a product manager, you're consistently asking yourself, what does success look like for your product? What does success look like for your customers? And what you release, does it actually meet or did it meet the expectations that you had set and then the metrics? Are people churning? Our daily active users growing? Our monthly active users growing? If they are not, how can we improve it? Those are like the questions that we need to ask. The second thing, or the third thing rather, that I would say is that you need to consistently review your product and see how you can make it better and then collect feedback. Because again, you need to consistently listen to your customers and how can you improve your product? What can you do better? What's the market saying? Stuff like that. And it could just be that, okay, rate our app. If the app rating is too low, then you know that there's a problem. If it's high, you say, okay, good. What are we actually doing well that people are actually rating our app very high? It could also be that you just want people to, you just maybe check the customer journey. That's like heat maps, for example. What is taking the longest time for people to do on the app? What's taking the shortest time? How can we make it better? Those are like things that you do after product release. Then you also now go into your backlog grooming, you pick up the next item and then you guys go into development. And again, you start your entire release management at that point as well. So yes, then this is going to be my last slide. Then I'm going to take questions. So what is the role of a product manager in release management? The first thing is that you need to build and share a strategic product roadmap. What do we want to achieve? What does it look like? What does success look like for you? You also need to ensure coordination for a successful launch. And then you also need to drive alignment. And those are like things I would say that you need to do. Again, I would say that you need to document everything that you need to, what you're doing. Versioning your product is very important. You also need to draft your release notes, your walkthroughs as well. Those things are very, very important for you. It's not that, oh, they'll say, oh, release something. What did you release? Why are they always going to ask you? Let there be a documentation. You have to align with the marketing team, align with the sales team, and align with the engineering team. So those are like things I would say. So I think this is my slide for now. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please let me know. Yep, I think we still have a bit of time. I said I wanted to finish by 5:30. I finished by 5:02. Amide Adebule, I don't think I've heard your voice today. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Tomisin, I can hear you.
Yes, please. Did you understand what I said today? Can you, in a nutshell, explain what you understood?
I came in a bit late, right? But I got a significant chunk when I came in. So I think you were I significantly got the part where we're having discussions about when there should be like products rollout or probably feature rollouts. So the take for me was that I think is very related to business need and of course customer need. I think is very tied up to that. So for every feature, for every product, probably full one, there has to be intentions of do the customers need it, and of course the team size too. How much people do you have on your team to roll out feature updates on a day-to-day? But just like you said, we as product managers, we continually have to have it at the back of our mind that you kind of improve your product on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you very much. Is anyone that has any question? If you don't have questions, I'm going to call you and ask you a question. I already know who I want to call. Okay. Who is Spindle? I think this person came in very late. But please, can you maybe in a nutshell tell me what you understood? If you have any questions, yeah. Hi. Bukumi Aluku. I'm not sure I heard your voice today. Hi. Dami, how did you understand what the message I was trying to pass across? What's the take home for you? And I have a question, right? What do you guys think the most difficult part in product release or product launch is? Bukumi, your mic was unmuted.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
So my question is, what do you think the most difficult part in product launch is?
Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Bukumi.
Yeah, sorry. Let me just give an answer, or like my opinion on that. So I think one of the difficult parts in that product release is transferring from development or from staging to release. I'm talking in terms of most it's more focused to the development aspect. So there are some configurations and some things that has to be set up if you want to move from, let's say, staging to like development. So sometimes that's like the difficult aspect sometimes, because a lot of things might not be properly aligned. So I hope that's all I have to say.
Thank you. I have a question, right? So the question is, wow. Okay, my question is this: as a product manager, you've built your product and you release the product to the markets, right? And unfortunately, this product release went wrong. What's going to be your first cue as a product manager? Dami, do you want to go first? Who wants to go first? You released a new product to the market and the product launch did not go as planned for different reasons. Either the product crashed, the experience is bad, your customers are complaining. What will be your first cue as a product manager? Ianu, yes, let's hear from you.
Yeah, I think the first thing is to know exactly what went wrong. So we have to, I don't know, probably ask a lot of questions or look at the data, maybe talk to if it's a company that has like a data analytics team, we can just like, I don't know, try to like look at the data and see what went wrong. Or if there's no team, we can either look at the data or ask a lot of questions to know exactly what went wrong. Then from that, we can now make and inform decisions with the stakeholders for the next step. Yeah, that's my take.
Okay, that was a good attempt. All right. Okay. So the question is, as a product manager, the product release for your product did not go as planned. And did not go as planned could be that people did not receive the product really the new feature as you expected, either like the entire app crashed, just anyone. You can pick any scenario as it fits, right? As a product manager, what's going to be your first cue? What will be your first line of action? Cool, Dami, you can go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, clearly.
Okay, I feel depending on what the exact scenario is, you might have to go back to the planning phase or like just try to figure out what went wrong. If there was an issue with maybe some stage of development, or maybe the user stories were not even understood clearly, or maybe the product did not end up serving like the purpose for which it was built. Any of those reasons, or a whole lot more reasons to be the reason why the market or like your target audience would not accept the product, as so. So okay, let me ask something. Is it for so this question now, does it apply to like a fresh product that you're just releasing for the first time, or maybe like an upgrade to an already existing product,
It
or
relates to any, you can pick
okay,
the one that suits you.
okay. So let's say for a new product, if you release a new product and it's not getting as much traction as you expected or as you projected, so you might want to, as a product manager, okay, first try to figure out what went wrong. Maybe the product is not solving the problem it's supposed to solve, or maybe something about it, maybe the UX is not so appealing to members of your target audience. Of course, if you are trying to do a product that is mostly centered around young people, millennials, and Gen Z, people like that, they take aesthetics very seriously. So if you release an application, for instance, and it doesn't really, the whole thing just looks, somehow it doesn't look appealing to the eyes, that kind of thing, it can actually discourage people from using it. So I feel you just need to go back to try to do your research and find out what exactly went wrong. Then if it's for an already existing product and then there was like an update and it wasn't, received how much you anticipated. So it might be that, well, maybe people don't really see the significant difference. Like I made an example earlier when I talked about WhatsApp, and there was one update they did just to add new emojis and all. So I feel that one might not have, that might be like an example of an update that might not, be, I might not get as much traction or like as much what's it called? I don't know what the word is now. Like it doesn't go as your users do not, find it as appealing as expected. So like I said initially, just try to find out okay, what exactly the issue was. Try to figure out where the issue was from so that corrections can be made for subsequent releases.
Thank you, Dami. Really appreciate that. Okay, Bukumi, you can go next.
Yeah, thanks. So it depends on the scenario. There are many ways things could go wrong. But let me just give you an example or a case. So like you said earlier, like staging is very, very important. So and at the staging level, at least there should be a lot of QA and testing done at that level. But if the thing still eventually occur, maybe like a bug. So if the feature can be turned off immediately, that should be done, and every person can just roll back to a temporary formal solution. Because, for example, now if you're dealing with finances now, and you notice that there's a there's a loophole, the most important thing is for you to just turn off that feature for the meantime, and then you go back to your logs and try to trace the cause of that particular problem. Because there are just many ways things could go wrong in products as a product manager, and just have to turn off that feature first so that I don't incur more problems.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So for me, right, I'm going to take from different perspectives. So there are two ways. It could be that it's a feature, it could be that it's a new product, right? And if it's a new product release, it's a bit dicey, right? Because you cannot just roll back an existing, like a new product, right? So if it's a new product that you just launched to the market, I think what you need to do is you need to listen to the market, you need to listen to your customers, right? Because it's not like you can just recall this product, the product that you've pushed, right? Listen to the market, speak to more of your users, then release a new version. That's the first thing. But one thing I need to say is that these things happen, right? You don't intend for it to happen, but there are sometimes that happens. That's the first part. The second part is if you release a new feature and people are really complaining about it, there are different ways to go about it, right? The first thing is like you need to listen, you need to know what are people complaining about, right? You also need to assess what level of priority are you giving this new feature. And I'll give an example, like Dami mentioned, right? She said that the WhatsApp before they released this reaction feature that they just recently pushed, there was one part where they were just pushing new emojis, right? So new emojis is more like a nice to have. It's not a make or break feature. So even if people are complaining, that might not really be. I'm not saying it's not a problem. I'm saying that might not like be like a large scale. It might be low priority, right? But if people, for example, are trying to send money, you pushed a new feature, for example, on Kuda, or you pushed it on Zenny or you pushed it on EBA, and all of a sudden people are not getting their money, or all of a sudden like they're just debiting their money. You know that that's like a very, very big problem. In that kind of situation, what I would say, like, first of all, and which is why versioning is very, very important. You need to roll back that update, right? And then you fix the bug and then you send out a message. There are other times where like it might take a bit of time. You need to listen to what your customers are saying and how to, especially when you've maybe anticipated that, oh wow, this new feature is actually going to be mind blowing. It's going to be great. And then you just go south. You need to know, okay, what do your customers want, right? Because so there are sometimes when like you need to be able to think on your feet as a product manager. Sometimes like going to the data analytics team might be like the second step. The first step might be, okay, what are the users actually saying before checking data, right? So you need to be able to think on your feet. If there's something that can be recalled, recall it back, and also send out the communication. But as much as possible, right? That's why people will suggest that you do, lots of people would suggest that you do your beta test just to know how some of these changes will be perceived before you push it to a larger market. That's the first part. The second part is A/B testing, right? While the people, A/B testing is like you're pushing two different versions of your app to different people and seeing how people interact with each, which one is doing better, and then you push maybe the one that does better, stuff like that. So these kind of things are like very, very important as product managers. But in the situation whereby you find yourself in this kind of situation, the first thing I need to tell you is that don't panic. Seems like a very stupid advice, but don't panic. These things happen, right? It's just how can you make your product better from there, and what are things that you need to do. Oh yes, is there anybody that has any question before I call it a day? Okay, so I'm going to assume that nobody has any more questions. So next week is going to be the last and final class. I'm sad. I'll miss you guys every Sunday. Yes, Dami, you can totally get it. So we're going to be having somebody, a very senior product manager, come and speak to us. It's going to be a fireside chat. You're going to have like a lot of questions. And basically the class or the chat is going to be about what hiring managers are looking for in product managers. So if, for example, you're trying to get your first product role, questions like, oh, how can I get my first product role? If I'm interviewing, what are the kind of things you want to hear? What should I do? Stuff like that. And I think that you should come very, very prepared. The person is Temi Giwa. You can check out check her out on LinkedIn. She currently works at Paystack, and she has about 15 years of experience, and she's really, really great. Even I myself, I look up to her. So you guys should check that out. And please come prepared for the next class. If we don't have any questions, I'm going to call it a day now. See you next week. Dami, I'm going to send this to Imole, and Imole will share it to everyone. Have a lovely weekend, guys. Bye, and a great week too.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.